Hi everyone and welcome to today's tutorial. So today I'll be showing you how to create an expandable sidebar menu, as you can see right here. So when I click on this, you can actually set I expand it by clicking on this menu right at the top, and then as you can see, each of the different buttons can actually be selected, and you can actually see that the text here keeps changing, and that's because there are different pages that are actually switching every single time I click on a button, and that happens every single time even when I switch to this menu that actually has all the text. How do I do this in Python? Find out in today's video. Alright, so we begin. So first thing, we're going to open Qt Designer. Now with Qt Designer open, we can create a main window. Now here we have it, so we can now delete this. So we're going to delete this menu bar, so remove it. Then we're going to go to the status bar, and we're also going to remove that. I think this is basically okay. So we're just going to compress this a little bit. Just make sure you can actually see everything. Just make sure everything is in view. So basically like that. Make sure you can see this title and you can see this close button right there. Then we're going to save it inside the folder that I've already created. So we're going to save as. Now inside my desktop, there's a folder called side menu that I've actually already created. So this is the folder. So just going to save it and call it sidebar.ui. Then click save. So let's check out that folder a little bit. So when you look at the folder here, so as you can see, this is our UI file that has actually been created, and then I have a folder called images, and here I've actually stored different icons for the dashboard, for example. So notice I've stored, there is the white color, this is the white dashboard color, and then there is the blue color. So I've actually made a pair of all the different individual ones. So I'm actually going to share them in my description for those who want to actually access them. Right, so now we're back here. So inside here, we're going to actually insert 3 different widgets. So search for widget. We're going to insert this widget here. This is going to be the first one. You're going to select it, click Ctrl C, click Ctrl V, duplicate it. Then we have it again, then click Ctrl C, Ctrl V, then create it again. So we actually have 3 different widgets that we've actually created. Then go back to your main window menu, and then we're going to set the background color of everything. So we're going to select background color, so add background color, and then inside here we're going to type the coordinates F5 FA FE and click OK, then click apply. As you can see, we've actually changed that. Now inside here, we're actually going to make some changes. Now we're going to change this, so we're going to call this icon underscore only widget. Then we're going to rename this, we're going to call it icon name widget. So we're going to have the icon and the name there, and this is going to be the main, start with a small letter, main menu. So now I have these 3 different widgets. Now inside here, I'm actually going to do some additions. So let's first add some labels. So we're going to add a label, so search for label. So we're going to insert 1 label here, and we're going to insert 2 labels inside here at the top, and there we go. Then next we're going to search for push buttons, so type in the word push, and we're going to make copies here. So make sure we actually drag, so we're going to need like 6 of them, but I'm going to start with 5 at the top and then 1 below to actually close. So now we're going to make copies of this, so click this, click Ctrl C, Ctrl V, then we can actually copy that. So now I have copies of that. Then inside here, we're going to insert another widget, so we're going to have one that represents the header. So we're going to drag it in. So here we go. And inside here, we're going to add some push buttons also. But before we do that, let's first add a line edit. So this is our line edit right here. Then we're going to add some push buttons, but just make a copy of this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Then make a copy of that, place it right here. Then make a copy of that, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. We're going to have one to represent the search. Then one is going to be representing the profile at the edge right there. Then we're going to add some spacers. So we're going to add some spacers. So we're going to have the horizontal spacer. We're going to place it here. So this will actually help us space everything well. Duplicate this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Then we're also going to place one here in between the line edit and this button here. Then we're going to have a vertical spacer right here. Then Ctrl C, Ctrl V, then we're going to have another one right there. So basically we are on track. Now below this, we're going to add a stack widget. So we're going to search for stack. So drag it in. We're going to place it right below this. So it's right below that header widget. Let's actually just rename this. We're going to call this the header underscore widget. And there we go. So we've actually created that. Now we're going to do some alignment here. So we're going to do some horizontal alignment for the button and the QLineEdit. So click on this, and there we go. We actually have them aligned together. Now we're going to make some changes now. So we're going to now insert some icons. So we now have to create our resources folder. So now we're going to add our resources. So we're going to create a resource file. So we're going to call it resources.qrc and click save. Then inside here we're actually going to add this. Now we're going to add a link, a prefix to them. Now let's remove this backspace. Then we're going to add them. So we're going to go into where we have the images. Then make sure to click Ctrl Alt to select all of them and click open. And there we go, we have access to all of them and click OK. Now basically they actually will appear right here in our resources browser. Right, so now we're going to add our resources in. Now first of all, I want to change this text label here. I want to change it to a profile picture that I actually already have. So we're going to scroll down to where we have pixmap. Then we're going to make a selection. So we're going to choose resource. Then we're going to make a selection of the profile image. Now make sure to scale the contents. Click on this to scale the contents. Then we're going to go to the top. Then go to where to have width and height. Then we're going to go to where we have minimum size. Set this to 40 by 40. Then also going to set the maximum size to 40 by 40 and click enter. Alright, so now let's just make sure that, let's undo that. Make sure you can actually see it in view. Don't worry about how these buttons are arranged. We shall fix that very quickly. Now I'm going to also replace this. So I'm going to go down to where we have the pixmap again. You're also going to choose the resource. Choose the profile image again, because now this is the side where it's actually expanded. When it's expanded, this is the menu that you will see. And we're going to set this to also scale the contents. Where you have the minimum size, set this to 40 by 40. Set the maximum size to also 40 by 40. And there we go. So just going to arrange these. Let's just make sure you can actually just see it in view. Right, so there we go. So I'm going to change this text label here to sidebar. So basically don't worry about how it looks now. Then we're going to go to where we have the font point size. Change this to 12. Then give this a bold. So click on bold. So it's now set to bold. Right, so it's actually looking good. So we're going to select that icon widget, this scaled one. Then we're going to scale it out a little bit. Just make sure everything is in view. Alright, so now we're just going to change their background colors. So we're going to go to where we actually have this. Now inside here where we have this icon only widget. So we're going to go into its style sheet. So we're going to type in Q, make sure the W is a capital, Q widget, then curly brackets. And inside here we're going to add the background color. So go to where I have the background color, and then inside here we're going to type in the coordinates 1F95EF. Then click OK. Then we're going to click, make sure this is actually inside here, inside the curly brackets, and click apply. And as you can see, our changes have actually applied. So we're going to copy this. So go to where we have its style sheet again. We're going to copy this so that we actually have the same styling for this widget here also, where we have the icons with the text. So we're going to also change this and paste it there. Alright, so there we go. So now let's make some changes here. So we're going to change this text dashboard. It's going to be profile, messages. This shall be notifications. This shall be called settings. Then this shall be sign out. Then here we're just going to backspace, because here it's icon only. So we're going to delete the text. So double click and backspace, so they're actually blank. Then we're going to add different icons inside there. So we're going to scroll down. So scroll to the very bottom to where we actually have the QAbstract.button. Then inside here we're going to select and add different icons. So we're going to choose a resource. Then we're going to go where you have the dashboard icon. So this is it, the white one. Click OK, and as you can see, it actually appears. They're going to do the same thing for the rest. going to have one for the profile. There we go. Then going to have the next one. Choose resource. Need one for messages. There we go. So now we're going to insert them also here on this other side. So we're going to start again with the one of the dashboard. Then we're going to have that one of the profile. Alright, so now I'm going to horizontally align some items. So I'm going to select this and that. Let's horizontally align them. There we go. And then we're going to do that for each of these. But before we do that, let's first select this whole widget. Then we're going to go into its styling. We're going to change that. So we're going to make a styling for its QPushButtons. So type in QPushButton, curly brackets. Then inside here, we're going to make some changes inside the QPushButtons. I want to make sure every text inside there is set to white. Click apply. So it's actually working. And then next, we're going to text align. So we're going to align all the text. Just click tab, text align. We're going to align all text to the left. Apply that, and as you can see, it's working. Alright, so after doing text aligning, we can click apply and click OK. So let's continue making some changes. So inside here, we're going to insert another icon. So backspace, click enter. Then we're going to add an icon here also. So we're going to add that icon that actually controls the menu. So it will open the menu and it will close it. So this is it. Click OK. Then we're going to scale it up a little bit. Let's increase its width and height to 20 by 20. I believe that's much better. Then here we're also going to make a change. We're also going to insert an icon. We're going to choose that for search. There it is. Let's actually delete the text. We're only interested in the icon. Then here we also want to make that change. Choose resource. I'm going to choose this profile image. Then I'm going to backspace because we're only interested in the profile image. Okay, that looks much better. Alright, so now that we've done that, we're now going to vertical align some items. But before we do that, let's actually just add some spacers up here. I'm going to add some horizontal spacers here because there needs to be some space here. I'm going to then put one towards the left of this profile image. And then now we're going to select this. So make sure to select these different QPushButtons. They're going to align them vertically. So let's set them out vertically. As you can see, that's how they will look. So it's actually looking good. Let's do the same here. Let's lay them out vertically. It's actually looking good. Alright, now let's do the same thing here. So select the spaces on the profile button, arrange them horizontally. There we go. The next, we're going to select this whole, so we're going to select the whole icon widget that you have, then we're going to click align horizontally. And there we go. That's actually what I wanted. And we're going to now rescale it down a little bit. But actually, by the time we do this, we can now get rid of these, so we don't need these spaces anymore. We can get rid of them. Then let's scale it down because I want to make sure that it's actually small. It actually looks like this when it's actually, when I actually click on the menu. So without the text, this is how it will look. So there we go. So let's do the same thing here. So I'm also going to lay this out horizontally, vertically, but let's just scale it out a little bit. So it has to be a little bit bigger. Alright, so now we're going to do something. So we're going to go into our layout here. Then we're going to do some layout to the vertical and horizontal layout. So we're going to make sure to control how the items are arranged. So what I want to make sure is these buttons, I want to make sure that they actually touch the right edge right here. So I'm going to change that margin there. So select this. Let's actually go to the, select this. I'm interested in this. Actually, yeah, make sure to select that icon widget. They're going to scroll down to where we have this. As you can see, this is how the margins are actually laid out. So make sure that of the right hand side is set to 0, so that it actually looks like that. Alright, so when you set that to 0, I actually think that looks fine. Then there's something I'm going to go to do, go back to the change of style sheets, and we're going to edit those QPushButtons. Then we're going to do something. So now I want to actually increase the height of the different buttons. So let's increase the height, change the height to 30 pixels, click apply. Yeah, I'm actually going to do that for both sides. So I'm also going to go here. Actually, let's just copy this. So go here, then let's actually just select all those settings because they're actually going to be the same throughout. Then we're going to go here, then we're also going to just paste it. So it's the same settings for the QPushButtons. Right, that actually looks better. But what we don't want is we don't want them to be aligned to the left. So they can actually be aligned to the center. That actually looks very good. Then going back here, go back to its style sheet. We're going to remove the border. So we're going to set the border of each of the buttons to none. Alright, so they actually have to be set to none. We're going to go down. Now we can add the padding left. Padding left. Set that to 10 pixels. Now we can click OK and apply. Right, then we can actually select this. Let's select the vertical layout here. Then we're going to set the spacing. So we're going to increase the spacing between the QPushButtons. We're going to set it to 15. Alright, that looks better now. Now we're going to do the same thing here. So basically it's the same settings that we've actually done, except the padding left. We don't need to pad left, so we just need that option of the border. So we're going to set the border to none right here. So once you just set that border, so we don't need any borders on the push buttons, click apply. Then we're going to set the spacing. So this vertical, actually select that, this vertical layout, set that to 15. Right, that looks good now. Alright, so it's just as you want it. Alright, so next we're going to make all these buttons checkable. So let's just scroll. What happens is one, make sure that when a user actually clicks them, they can actually be checked. So we're going to just make sure that they're checkable. Then we're going to set this option of autoExclusive to be on. And why is that? It's so that when a single button is selected, any other button that is on will actually be deselected. So that is actually very important to actually set it to autoExclusive. Alright, so now we're done. So that's actually okay. So let's actually also do the same thing here. So it should also be set to checkable. So we'll need to make it checkable actually right now. So we don't need to do anything more there. Alright, so now we're going to go into the main menu here. Then let's go into this header widget here. And then we're going to also lay out everything horizontally. So there we go. Let's make sure it's actually scaled out a little bit better. Alright, that's actually looking good. Now actually I'm going to select this entire widget, the main menu widget, then let's lay out everything vertically. That's okay. Now let's scale it out. Alright, that's looking good. Just as we wanted. I think that's actually very good. So I'm going to select this stacked widget, then I'm also going to add some styling inside there. Let's change the style sheet. Then I'm going to add a background color. We're going to set that to white. Then click OK and apply. That's actually what we wanted. So that's actually looking good. Now next I want to now do some signal. So now I'm going to edit the signals and the slots next. So let's select this. So click to go to the option of editing signals and slots. So now let's do this. So I want to make sure that when a user clicks on this main menu, this menu here will be set to hidden. So when this is toggled, click show signals. We're going to set that to hidden and click OK. Then we're also going to drag it, and then let's actually select this big menu here. Then when it's toggled, I want to make sure it also be set to visible. So that's actually going to be very, very key. So let's actually see what will happen. Before we do that, let's actually go back, then click out of everything, click here, then let's select this grid layout to everything. Alright, so everything is now layered out in a grid format. Let's actually select this. Let's go to the, let's select this hbox layout here. Then let's actually, as you can see, there's little space between here. I want to now increase the right margin. Let's actually change that to 20. I believe with it at 20 everything looks better. Now let's click out, go to where you have this central widget here, then scroll down. Now we're going to set all these values to 0, that to 0, that to 0, 0 also, so that everything can actually touch the edges, so there's actually no margin all around. Alright, so that actually looks better. So now let's actually test our form, and as you can see, when I click on this, when I toggle it, you can actually see it actually hides the other menu with no icons. As you can see, it actually brings it back on, and so it's actually working right now. Now next, I want to make sure that now I can actually, so when a user actually clicks on any of these buttons, I want to make sure that there is actually something that happens when they're actually checked. But before I do that, I actually think I can increase the spacing here in between these. So I'm going to do something there. So I'm going to select this vertical box layout. Then I'm going to go to the top margin here. I think I can increase it by 15. Yeah, I think I really need some more space at the top. Let's also change this to 15 at the top. Alright, so now we're also going to do some editing signals and slots. What I want to make sure is when this is actually checked, that this will actually also be checked at the same time. Now let's select this and we're going to drag. They're going to set toggled. So when that is toggled, we're going to make sure that it will actually set this one to also be checked. Then also going to do the same thing here. So drag, when it's toggled, it will set the other to also be checked. When this is toggled, it will also set the other to be checked. So we're going to do that for each of them. Now we're going to need to do it from one side to the other, and then we're also going to do it in reverse. So when this is also checked, that should also be checked at the same time. But you see what I mean. So we're going to now drag back. So when this is also toggled, that will be checked. When this is toggled, set that toggled, that will be checked. Then when that is toggled, that will also be checked. Select that, drag that back. When that is toggled, that will be checked. Then lastly, when this is toggled, this will also be checked. Now I want to make sure that something happens when each one of them is checked. So that's going to be the next step. So let's go back into this mode, editing widgets. Now we're going to go back, select this. Let's go back to the style sheet here. Then now we're going to add a certain mode when a button is actually checked. So QPushButton. So I want something to happen when a button is checked. Then click checked. So when a button is checked, I want something to actually happen. So first of all, the background color will change. So I'm going to set the background color. I want to set it to the coordinates F5 FAFE. So that's actually one of the things that will happen. So to change background color to that, then the color of the text will actually change. So I want to make sure the text will actually change to that shade of blue that we actually have. So this is actually a shade of white as the background color, a certain shade of white. Then the text will actually change to blue when actually they are clicked. 95EF. Then also want to make sure that the font weight is set to bold. So it's going to be set to bold when it's actually clicked on. So let's actually see what happens right there. So let's actually check that in. Now we've actually set it for this that is actually open. Let's see what happens. As you can see, you can actually see that the text is actually changing color. It's actually changing to blue every time it's actually clicked on. So that's actually what we're actually representing. Now we're going to do the same thing here, but before we do that, let's actually finish this. Now, as you can see, the buttons were not rounded, so I'm actually going to add a border radius to the left. So I'm going to add a border top left radius. Set that to 10 pixels. Then close that. Then I'm going to make a copy of this. So we need to also do the same thing for the bottom left. So this is going to be bottom left. Let's also click apply. Now let's see what happens in that case. Let's preview that. As you can see, you can actually see it's actually now rounded, and that actually looks better. But now, as you can see, we cannot see our icons. So that means we actually need icons that are actually blue in the other case. So when a button is checked, something will actually happen. So actually going to do something there. So going to go, so select each of the different QPushButtons, then we're going to scroll down. Now where you have, so we have the normal off, so that's going to be the original we've actually posted, that is the white one. Now on the normal on, I'm actually going to choose the blue one. So I'm actually going to choose the blue here for the normal on. So I'm going to do that for each one very fast. Alright, so once you've done that, let's actually go back here. Then we're going to copy some of these settings for the QPushButton when it's checked, and we're going to copy them. So we're going to copy them and we're going to paste them into this also. And we're going to paste them. So the background color will also change to that. And now here we're going to change the border radius. So we're going to set it to 10 pixels. Then click apply. Now let's actually test everything again. So let's preview that. Let's actually do that. As you can see, it's actually working perfectly, just as you wanted. Let's see what happens when these are actually smaller, icons only. As you can see, it's also working perfectly just as we wanted. Alright, so let's actually go back. Now we're going to change the, now we're actually going to change all the color here. So we're going to change the color. So I need this to actually be set to white. That means at the top where we have QWidget, I'm actually going to set color to white. That's why the text sidebar is actually not set to white. Click apply, and that's actually perfect. Now let's actually hide this. So I don't need any border here. So actually going to go in, then we're going to set the border to none. Click apply. Now I'm going to copy this setting here. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I actually don't need any border here also. Change that style sheet. Click apply. So I don't need any border right there. I only need it here. Now inside the QStackedWidget, I'm actually going to add some text. Let's open that. And as you can see, inside the QStackedWidget, we have two pages, page 1 and page 2. But we're dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need 5 pages. So we're going to select that. Then we're going to insert pages after current page. So we need 5 pages. Add another one. Then we're going to rename this. So we're going to call the first one dashboard page. Then this shall be the profile page. This shall be the messages page. Notifications page. Then this shall be the settings page. Now inside the dashboard page, we're going to add a QLabel to actually, so that we can know which page we're on. So drag this QLabel when the dashboard page is selected. And we're going to change this text to dashboard page. Let's increase the size of that text. Set that font size 20. I think that looks better. And I'm going to copy this. So click copy, go into the profile page and paste. I'm going to change the text here to profile. So that we're actually on the profile page. So go to the messages page, paste, change that to messages, change that, paste, notifications. Then paste. This shall be the settings. Alright, so there we go. So now I have it well. Let's see what happens. So dashboard, profile, messages, notifications, and settings. So we actually have every page in view. So let's actually preview that one more time before going into the code mode. So we're going to do the coding, and as you can see, our menu works perfectly. So let's do one more thing. So we're going to go back into the editing slots, and then we're going to make sure when the user clicks on this, it will actually close the menu. So select on this and drag out. And then we're going to make sure that when this is toggled, it will actually close. So that's going to be set to close. Then we're also going to drag this out. When it's toggled, it will actually close. Let's test that and see. So what happens when a user clicks sign out, it should actually need to make sure this is set to checked. I'd forgotten to do that. Let's go to the edit mode and then go to the editing mode. I'm going to set this to checkable. So it was actually not set to checkable, that's why it actually wasn't going to work. Alright, so let's test that again. So when I click on this, it should actually work. Let's try it the other way around. So when a user clicks on this, it should also work. So it's actually working well. Alright, so lastly, we need to rename all our different QPushButtons. That's going to be very, very key before we move into our coding. Let's actually rename these. So scroll to the top. So this one is called so I'm going to call this dashboard underscore 1. So I'm going to call this 1. I'm going to call this other dashboard button 2. So I actually know the values that actually have 2 are those that are actually opened. So this is going to be profile underscore 1. So that means when I copy that, this shall be profile underscore 2. Then do the same thing here. And I believe there we go. So that's actually all we need. So we've renamed them. Let's actually call this the menu. So that name will actually be very useful to remember. Then we can save. So save that, and then we're now going to go into our coding. So we're going to go into Visual Studio Code to continue from here to make the other changes. Alright, so inside Visual Studio Code, we're going to drag our folder. So once you drag it, it should actually open with all the contents inside it. As you can see, we have our resources folder and we have the sidebar folder. So now we need to first convert these files into Python. So that's going to be the first step. So we're going to go into our terminal. So open the terminal. Then first of all, we're going to start with the sidebar UI. So we're going to type in PySide6 UIC. Then type in the name there, sidebar.ui. Then we're going to need to convert it to UI underscore sidebar.py. Then click enter. As you can see, we have the Python file created. We're also going to do the same thing for this resources file. It's going to type in PySide6-rcc. Then I'm going to type out the name of that file. It's resources.qrc -o. Then I'm going to type in the file name resources_rc.py and click enter, and it should actually create it. So we actually have it created now, and as you can see, these are the 2 different files for now. But let's actually make sure to open the UI sidebar. Then we're going to convert its encoding. So we're going to change its encoding. So its encoding needs to change from UTF-16. Going to change that to UTF-8, otherwise we may have errors being caused. Alright, so we're going to create a new file. We're going to call it sidebar.py. Then inside here, we're now going to create some imports. So we're going to import from that UI sidebar file. We're going to import its main class QMainWindow. Then we're going to import some Qt widgets, QApplication, QMainWindow, and QPushButton. Then create a class called MySidebar. Then we're going to be a subclass of QMainWindow and UIMainWindow. Then you're going to create the init function in itself. Then under here, we're going to write the word super, the keyword super, and then here we're going to the keyword setupUi self. So that's going to be very key. And then now we can set the Windows title. We're going to call it sidebar menu. So that's going to be a simple title. Now we can create some different methods that we can actually call to actually switch between the dashboard and all the other different pages in the QStack. So now the first method shall be switch to dashboard page. So here we're going to set the stacked widget. We're going to set its current index to 0 because the dashboard page comes first. So we're going to make copies of this. So let's actually duplicate this. Then we're just going to make a few edits. So this is going to be the one for the profile page. Then this shall be the one for the messages. This shall be for the notifications page. Then this shall be used to call the settings page. So I actually forgot letter T on switch, so corrected that. Then now let's actually change the indexes so that they're actually correct in the order that they're actually arranged on the QStackedWidget. Alright, so now we need to call all the buttons on our sidebar menu. So there are those that are called dashboard 1. So when this is clicked, it will actually connect to switch to dashboard page. Now that should also happen for dashboard 2, so it should also connect to the same method. So let's actually duplicate that for all the different buttons. So remember, we have profile 1, profile 2, so all of them connect to profile page. So I have messages 1 and messages 2, so those are 2 buttons. Notifications 1 and notifications 2. And lastly we have settings 1 and settings 2. So settings will connect to the switch to settings page. This will connect to the switch to notifications page. So both of them, notifications page, change that. This connect to the messages page, switch to messages page. This shall connect to the switched profile page. Alright, so now that is now actually going to work correctly, as you can see. So now we're going to create the main file. So we're going to call it main.py. And inside here we're actually going to copy this. So let's actually copy this import here. So let's actually copy that, then paste it in. Then next we're going to import the sys. Then we're going to import the file sidebar.py. We're going to import its main class MySidebar. Then we're going to create a variable app, which is an instance of Q application. And we're going to create also an instance of that of the main class of sidebar. Type in windows.show, then execute that. Alright, so that's it. Alright, so now next we're going to make a call to that, to a widget that actually has the expanded icons. So remember we had actually called it icon name widget. So we're going to call it, and we're going to set it to hidden by default. So it's going to be hidden so that we don't have 2 of them appearing at the same time at the beginning. So we're going to set hidden to true, and we're going to run our file. So go back to the main, click run. So now we should only see the one that is icon only appearing first. So when I click on this, it should actually open the other. As you can see, it's actually working perfectly. So this is actually what I actually mean. Now, as you can see, it's working. So it's collapsing and it's actually expanding. And as you can see, when I click on any of these, you can actually see that the page is actually changed just as we wanted. So this is actually how I would actually create a sidebar menu, a working one, inside PySide6. I hope this video really helped you. If it did, feel free to comment below in the comments, and then feel free to give this video a thumbs up, and then share it with anyone that you can. And then if you're new to this channel, I encourage you to join the community by subscribing. There's going to be a lot of new videos coming in line with this content. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.